Movie Win of the Week. We wanted to do something a little creepy. Mm-hmm. So we've got Jack Torrance from The Shining, Jack Nicholson's character, and we've got Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale from American Psycho. This is a good fight, I think.
Yeah, it's a really good fight, and it's because there's differences here, but we're talking about two crazy people.
For sure. But different types of crazy.
Yeah, Jack kind of leads himself on to craziness. Well, yes and no. There's some factors that involve being stuck in that hotel for that long, but he kind of drives himself to craziness, you know what I mean? Whereas when you're just like a hidden psychopath underneath everything else that you have going on in the regular world, those are the type of people that scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. Well, that's the big difference between them, I think, is that Jack Torrance is the manic killer, like kind of a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do. Patrick Bateman, there's nobody more calculated than a psychopath, you know what I mean?
And he's a banker.
So what kind of fight are you talking about? Is this like fist fighting, or do they get their weapons that they normally would carry?
usually this is a debate we usually have once we start.
I think in this case they should get the weapons.
Wrestling fight? Or?
Knife.
Oh, they get their weapons?
Knife and axe.
And axe.
So for this one, because their weapons are so kind of iconic to go along with those characters, I think for this one they get it.
A knife and an axe, okay.
So I'll start real quick with touching on what you just said. You're talking about somebody who's kind of manic compared to somebody who's very calculated in the way that they kill. The thing is that in The Shining, I feel like you see Jack go through like a tremendous amount of pain, and until he actually freezes to death, he doesn't even really realize it or consider stopping about it because he is so crazy. So I think that's something you have to consider, is that he's going to be able to take some abuse. He's gonna get diced up a few times. It's not necessarily going to stop him right away.
I would agree with that. I could see that. What about Patrick Bateman, though?
Let me say it.
He was a mama's boy, right? I mean, technically.
I don't remember. Does he really have to take like the other end of violence in that movie?
Not that I recall. I don't think he really gets beat up. But
doesn't his mother beat him? I'm pretty sure.
Could be.
His mother beats him a little bit. That's why he's all messed up. That's why he's psycho, because he had. Well, then the mother died, and he had her in the bed, and she was dead. We finally figured that out. After.
Yeah.
Is that in the first one or the second one? Can't remember.
That's Norman Bates.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of Norman Bates. Oh,
which is also a good one.
Oh, okay. I'm going off on the wrong movie here. All right, my bad. Okay,
we got into...
So Patrick Bateman was American Psycho.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay,
Psycho.
with the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Okay, when he threw the chainsaw down the stairs. Okay, see, I'm my head's going so fast with all these.
Too many different movies.
Yeah. Sorry about
that. You're ankle deep in that shit right now.
I got all the horror things going 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So Patrick Bateman, the guy with the chainsaw that throws it down the stairs, and it hits the girl when she's running out.
Yeah.
No, he does not. Okay, so he does not experience the other side of the
violence that we're thinking about. Okay.
No.
So I think that if he did, his reaction to that, having never really experienced it before, would just be pure anger. Because I think the thing that would irritate him the most is that him losing this fight would mean him not getting what he wants, and that's something that he obviously does not deal with very well.
I also think, and this might be, you might not agree with this, but when you talk about him being on the receiving end of violence, I think that he almost has a little bit of, not that this is a good comparison, but like Heath Ledger, like Joker in him, where I think that I feel like I see him getting cut and like looking at his own blood and almost like wanting to like lick it off and using it as fuel. Like I feel like he's a legit crazy person. I mean, he is. He's a psychopath. He's a narcissist.
I can kind of see that a little bit, but I what I'm wondering is if Jack's manic energy is going to benefit him in the instance that Patrick Bateman, being a psychopath, Like, he's so used to being on the outside of things, but he's also, in that way, very observant. And a big thing for him, I think he holds on to this notion that regular people have, like, these patterns, and society has these patterns. So how's he going to react when he meets somebody that does not abide by those and is just freaking out right like matching a psychotic energy that he's never really had to deal with before?
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah.
Like, because, Bateman in that movie was very in control.
Yeah.
But he controlled everything.
Exactly.
He was in control of the time, when and how, and, had everything pre-planned and set up. So if you see
when it didn't go according to plan, like the business card scene, where the other guy has that better business card, he freaks out. And so then if that happens, because I think his freak out in this case would be just kind of like, again, not getting what he wants, just kind of like barreling into this fight, like spazzing out to try and get what he wants, trying to win.
Would be.
So then you just have two like lunatics screaming at each other.
Well, so if that's the way this fight plays out,
I think it might.
I think it favors Jack because he's more comfortable in that
with that type of energy
state. Whereas it's hard to tell like how you would control a situation like that. I know this is going to sound dumb, but here's the thing that I keep thinking of in this situation is that like a 6-year-old boy escapes like Jack in a Shining, right? Because he runs into a maze and Jack can't figure his way out of it. So if you can throw any type of calculated attack, I feel like he's not going to be able to defend it because he is so concerned with just being a crazy person.
So since I fucked this all up and had the wrong fucking guy in here, what if we throw that Patrick Bateman got all freaked out and called Norman Bates on the phone and said, "Hey, come on." No, I'm just messing.
Well, then it gets really violent.
Yeah. Then it's a threesome. Yeah. But no, I think honestly, one of two things would happen to Patrick Bateman. Jack would either get him and like force him into submission instantly, or Bateman would go absolutely apeshit and tear the shit up out of him like that. I think it's either way it could happen.
Yeah.
Because Bateman, like you said, during that business card scene was like, and froze and didn't know what to do. And he actually got stunted. But if I think that if he fought through that and got through that, physically, I think he's the stronger guy.
And I also think
that's a great point. Actually, forget how fit he is in that
movie.
Is.
Yeah,
really
it depends too on if
he's chiseled.
It depends too on if he knows that he's going into this fight or not, because I feel like his level of control and composure is higher if he's aware that this is what he's walking into. Whereas if they just run into each other on the street and both decide it's time to kill each other, I think that he does not have the upper hand, because I don't know that he would be able to come back and find himself. I think he would direct his energy into more craziness than he could handle, and I think Jack Nicklaus would probably axe him in the face and he would die.
So your vote is Jack.
It depends on the situation. I haven't locked my answer in yet. Yeah, I throw out theoretical situations until we decide which one we're going to technically go with.
I think that even in that situation, though, even if Bateman was aware of this, his hubris would make him feel like he doesn't even have to prepare, no matter who he's going against.
Because he's a narcissist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
I don't think it'd really be that different.
But I think that also might give him an upper hand, because he's not going to look at Jack and say, "Oh, this guy's better than me." He's not going to look like, you know what I mean?
No, but see, that almost plays into what I was saying earlier, because if Jack does gain the upper hand, then Patrick Bateman's like, how the fuck am I losing to this guy? And he's just going to go crazy still, right?
Yeah. He's got a point.
My thing is, if he gets to the point where he's losing, I think he's already past the point of no return, because we're talking about one guy with a knife and one guy with an axe fighting. It's hard to come back from an axe.
It's hard.
So you envision this them two just bumping into each other and going?
Well, that's the scenario
hey, watch where you're going.
If we're putting them in a ring, if this is a Saturday night in Las Vegas and they're at the MGM and we're putting them in an octagon and we're saying you guys have to fight.
Tickets are sold.
We'll put them in a hotel. Like you guys go in this hotel. We'll put cameras all over the whole thing and stream it to the world and just see which one of you guys can kill each other, or like an apartment complex. I think that fits better towards Bateman than it does Jack. Does that make sense?
So in an apartment building where they're running around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree on that one.
Even in the street, even in like a public setting, if they're not confined to one open space.
I don't know. Jack's home. His home turf is a hotel.
I know, and he loses on his home turf.
That's true. Yeah. But he also gets injured pretty badly in that. And they go into a maze, which is where it really turns, so that's different.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So, for example, I feel like Bateman would be better fit to fight in a maze. Like, that would be, like, he can make a more calculated decision.
For sure.
He can feel in control because he can remember where he's going. He's not running around frantically.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you put him like in a boxing ring with a referee and said, "Ding ding, go"?
Well, I think they'll both kill the referee first.
I think I'd agree with you.
Maybe have a snap.
Yeah. Then move on to the ring girl with the card.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Everybody in there is going to die except for them.
A few people up front.
Right? They have to.
Guys like you with the mics.
Yeah, we're toast. We are toast.
They appear to be running at us. Both contestants leave the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, one goes that way, one goes that way.
We're toast.
Yeah.
I guess in true Hoopman of the Week fashion, that's kind of the problem that we always run into is these crazy situations. But for the sake of the game, if we're going to put them in a confined space and they're fighting each other to the death, one of them leaves, one of them doesn't, I'd probably go with Jack. What's his last name in that movie?
Torrance.
Jack Torrance. I'm going to go with Jack Torrance, if that's the situation. Mm-hmm. Because as much as I think the calculated and controlled aspect of things come into play, when there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, if he, like you said, if, at any point in the fight things start to not go his way and he loses control of himself, that's his whole MO. He's toast.
Yeah, I'm going to agree for a very similar reason. I think that if things start to not go his way, Bateman's just not going to know how to handle himself, and he's going to be on the outs.
Corey?
I'm going to go the opposite.
Okay.
I'm going to say Bateman, and I'm going to say because the guy's ripped in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
and he's like chiseled, and I think that
he's young.
if he's forced and Jack comes swinging this axe at him, he's got enough skivvy in him to go move and dodge and duck and then slices Achilles' tendon off and
I really
trip him.
I really like that pick because I do think that I can't change it now, but I do think that I let you talk me into the fact that Jack is going to come out early on top, and if that's not the case, I do think that Bateman.
Well, I can't say, but I just
so we got a 2-1 split here.
He's not going to be able to keep his composure. Yeah. Bateman, yeah. I don't think so.
And it's very possible. That's what I'm banking on. So I hope that you don't lose me this one, Andrew, because I am undefeated so far in 73 episodes.
Completely untrue.